Well, hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm good. It's a gorgeous day. It's warmer than it was, so that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I tell you, yeah, we must have gotten the same memo to wear gray. Oh, what that's about.
Somebody told me the other day, maybe it was you, said your salt and pepper beard blends right into these shirts that I got. My wife found these shirts for me, and I really like them, but it just kind of all blends together. She said.
All comes together. Yeah, that's funny. That's great. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get back in just a minute, give people a few minutes to get on. It's going to be a very technical and interesting show today, but I think it is one of the things that uh, people, owners especially, miss out if they're not doing. So we'll be back just shortly and we'll get started. All right, all right, all right. As Matthew McConaughey, the not governor, next governor of Texas, I read that the other day, made me laugh. So here we go, guys. If you have comments, things that you want to ask us during this time, this is going to be a great time. Put it in comments. We'd love to have your likes and hearts and all that good stuff because we've told Facebook likes to see those. But really, this is going to be a very interesting and kind of a deep subject. And I know that on the live, it might be difficult to cover something like this. But let me tell you, I just want to tell people why I thought this was important. I have talked to probably 10 business owners in the last 2 months, and none of them, I'll take that back, one of them actually pays attention to their analytics. They just aren't paying attention to a tool that almost everybody has access to because it's free if you use Google Analytics that can help you determine some things in your business. So I wanted to go over it. We use it all the time here, and so if you're not using a tool like this, I'm highly going to recommend it. But we're gonna dig deep into why we need to be paying attention to our analytics and what that can do for us. So the first thing is the what, why, and how of using analytics. All right, now uh, I'm not going to show you how to set it up, all line by line stuff. We're not doing that. But what I want to talk about is what is it? It's a tool. We're going to talk about that, why it's important, and how to use it in evaluation. That's the how I want to discover, not how to set it up and the
Yeah,
outs of
a-
it. But
and I'm glad we're doing that. I mean, we don't have to get into the how to set it up part, but first we've got to convince people that it really is valuable. And I think this conversation is bigger than just talking about Google Analytics or analytics being like certain kinds of data. We're really talking about metrics, right? I mean, that's maybe a different word similar to analytics, but it's things that you're using to understand your business better, and by understanding your business better, being able to predict how to make it grow even faster by doing changing certain things, right?
oh
So
yeah, and the reason I didn't put Google Analytics because Google Analytics is great on websites, but Facebook has a set of analytics. Twitter has analytics. Snapchat, TikTok, all of them have some kind of analytical data. But if you're not watching, even on Facebook Organic has an insights panel that gives you some really good information that you can dig into. So
but you can get even more information if you pair those analytics, those tools,
yes,
with other information that's offline in your business. And if you know how to do that, then you get the full picture of what's going on. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we get
yeah,
into this.
yeah. So I just want to explain it a little bit so that people are not going, "Oh my gosh, am I going to have a an entire deal that I got to learn how to do something?" No, you don't. But I think it's going to be, you can always pay somebody to help you do the thing, and that's the good part about it. So let's talk about right out of the gate what it is. Carter, you want to just talk a little bit
I
about
I love this first definition. I don't know where you found this, but this is really good. Marketing analytics, meaning like a set of technologies, not just any one of the platforms, but a set of things and methods that are used to transform raw data into marketing insights. So it's not the data that gives you anything. It's what you do with that data. It's how you understand that data, the insights that you get from that can improve your marketing and your business. So I love that definition. Marketing analytics is a set of technologies and methods used to transform raw data into marketing insights.
Yeah, and the other reason I really like that is because there's all this data out there, and what I find is people try to tell you what is important to you, that these are the things that you need to be watching. Here are the metrics that you need to be looking at. And then, when I go back and talk to them, I'm like, why are you looking at this? Well, because so-and-so said it was important. So it's like you have to determine what really is important in your business. There's a lot of companies out there that aren't service businesses that look at different metrics. A service business really is different in the fact that you never get a true sale, that it's a true sale unless you hit a buy now button. If
Right.
you hit
It's
a
not
buy now
e-commerce.
button, then the pixel, the whatever you want to call it, whatever you're using, picks that up. And so now you have a logical, determined sale that's there. Well, in service businesses, you don't have that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff around that. So you have to be real careful when you're dealing with people telling you, well, here's what you need to look at. You need to make sure it serves your business. And the goal of marketing analysis really is to maximize your return on investment. I mean, it's the return on investment that is, I don't care what company you are, that's really what you're looking at. And
And that's the key to knowing whether or not what somebody tells you. If you have a vendor that's showing you all these analytics and all these metrics and saying, this is what you need to focus on, look how good we're doing for you, but you can't figure out how to turn that number into an understanding or an insight about the return you're getting on your investment, like money in the bank. Okay. I mean, if they're just focused on page views, for example, how many visitors to your website are you getting? Well, that doesn't tell you how many of those visitors actually turn into your customers. And until you know that, you can't really get to what your return on investment is. So that, I think, is the second part. If your goal isn't using those understandings and those analytics to understand and get a better ROI, then you're not looking at the right numbers, or you haven't set the right goal as far as an expectation of what your marketing can do for you. By looking at those numbers should give you an understanding of your return on investment.
Yeah. And the other thing, I found this as a definition too, that marketing analytics encompasses tools for planning, managing, and evaluating the efforts across every channel. And when you look at what we're talking about now, we're going to get into some things later on this month about omni-channel communication and omni-channel marketing. It really is multiple channels. And so you need those analytics and that data to talk to each other and to pull from one to the other so that you can double check what's going on from channel to channel as well. So, analytics is not just one thing. It's not just using one tool to do the stuff. It really is using multiple tools, multiple technologies, methodologies to break down and really dig into the numbers that matter to you, no matter what your business is. So I think that's real important. We talked a little bit. You touched on KPIs for just a minute. There are. I'm going to laugh a minute, and I'm gonna tell on some of my staff. When we have new staff that comes in, it's always people, if they've been trained by Google or by Facebook or by Twitter or by whoever, they have certifications and trainings that they've taken and they know how to push the buttons and the widgets and whatever. But what you find is those certification, those trainings, they take them through a process that really is about them showing their best. In other words, click-through rate happens to be one of those that sounds really good. You got so many clicks, and every pay-per-click platform, every platform that does any kind of clicking has a click-through rate. And it's not that it's bad to look at, okay? But if the click-through rate is in the thousands, but you're not getting any business, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, the bottom line is what you said, you got to get business, which is your return on investment. You have to have that. So yes, it's great to use click-through rate, because as a marketer, if I'm seeing a large click-through rate, but I'm not seeing a good return, something's wrong with my landing page, my message. It helps me to go in as a marketing partner. It would help you if you're doing it yourself to go in and tweak the message, tweak what, the pictures, the whatever it is that you're doing, so that click-through rate actually turns into real dollars.
It's a diagnostics
Yeah,
tool. Yeah.
exactly. Where return on investment is not a diagnostic tool. Another
No.
one is return on ad spend.
Right.
Okay, that's another thing. There's an actual spending that you have on every ad that needs to be incorporated into your entire return on investment. But you really need to know, your return on an ad spend. So, that also encompasses what you spend per lead for an ad. I mean, that's another part of that. So those are just things, hopefully, that you can understand, that you use certain ones of these as for diagnostics and for making decision about what you're going to do and change and those kind of things, and then others is the actual money part.
And then those are the I guess maybe the highest level KPIs that you're going to want to pay attention to, the key performance indicators, and that's going to tell you whether or not your marketing is performing for you. But there's a lot of other stuff under the hood that gets more and more refined and technical, and knowing what to look at to see where you can tweak to get better ROI. That's really where a marketing company can help you sharpen your arrows and aim better, and get better results. Like, for example, if I'm spending $1,000 a month on ads, and I'm getting $5,000 a month in revenue, then that's a 5 times return on that ad spend. But there's some other key things that we want to look at with regard to how many impressions we got, how many clicks we got on the ad. That's that click-through rate that we've talked about, which is a KPI. But then, like, they click on the ad and they go to a page, and they're not turning into. We've got a great click-through rate, but which means that we're spending more because we're paying for those clicks. But when they hit the landing page that we send them to from that ad, they're bouncing. They're not spending time on that page. They're not converting into a customer or a call. They're not getting further into our funnel to be able to turn into actual revenue. And so, that presents a challenge. So knowing what to do about that, like, why are they clicking the ad? Something about the ad is very appealing to them. But when they hit that landing page, they're not expecting to, they're not seeing what they're expecting to see. Or the experience once they get to that page is not what they were expecting, and so they're leaving. So understanding, diagnosing, and fixing those problems is where a marketer can really kind of help tease those numbers out of the raw data to give you a better understanding of what can be improved.
Hey, and James, thanks for the thumbs up. We appreciate that. Anybody else that is out there, if you guys could give us a thumbs up or a heart, just let us know, and let Facebook know that this is good material. That would be awesome. Another one of the things that I included in here is churn rate. And here, and this is a little bit different. I'm not talking about churn rate in the sense that, you're churning through your customers. But let me tell you what I am talking about. There's a churn rate that happens when you do certain things. I'm going to give you a really good example. I was on a phone call earlier this month, or actually it was last month. It's the second or third. I guess it I don't know about y'all. Holidays just kind of blend everything together, but it's been a few weeks ago. One of the things that the company they're working with uh, has done this. They have basically this huge giveaway. Okay, so it's a flooring company. So they're giving away X amount of dollars in flooring. Well, they're getting leads everywhere. All right. I mean, their leads are just coming in like crazy, but they're not they're not turning into anything. So he's got people on the phone just churning through leads that aren't turning into anything. So this is what I told him. I said, well, the problem with that is flooring, when you buy a floor, what does somebody come back every year and buy another floor? And he's like, oh no, it's 18, 20 years. I said, that's my point. You don't have people that come back and do that. So right now, because of the expense of floors, you've got people that are contacting you trying to win these things, but there's no way that they have the money to actually buy it. And he goes, that's exactly what's happening. So he's churning through leads that are just useless. And it's costing him the giveaway. Plus, it's costing him tons of time on the other end. So sometimes what we do in marketing works great on surface, but when you get up underneath it, it doesn't. The other thing that most people don't think about is customer lifetime value, which is something that I think a lot of people miss out on because they don't understand that they need to calculate the cost of a customer. They need to know that customer lifetime value, because if your customer lifetime value is, say, $5,000, okay, but initially it's $150 sweep or whatever it is, if you're going to do a dryer vent cleaning to get into the home, you may say spending $150 to get that first $150. If you're looking at it, that's costing you 100%. There's no way you could do that. But when you know what your customer lifetime value is, all of a sudden it changes that metric. It allows you to be able to spend more up front because you know what you're going to get on the back end. So hopefully these are just some of the things. We can talk about customer satisfaction, public perception.
Let's keep talking about this. I think it's important. I want to just talk about customer lifetime value for a minute, because you can look back through your books, and this would take quite a bit of effort. Would it be worth doing? Gosh, yeah. Man, would it ever? Look and see every single customer. How many years have they been with you? Right? How many years have they been with you, and what's the total value of that relationship? I saw John Caesar posted today something about focusing on customer service is making your customers happy. That's service. Figuring out how to get as much money from every customer is sleazy. I kind of agree with that, but I also think that as a marketing company, our goal is to see how can we maximize the value of every customer. Now, the way you maximize the value of every customer is deliver the best damn service you can deliver, to every customer so that they stay with you for years, right? So you're kind of splitting hairs. I got his point. I kind of like the way you said it, but I want to just, point out here that once you understand what the customer lifetime value is, let's just put it at maybe, a customer who's been with you, every customer across the board in your business on average has been with you for 8 years, right? And during that 8 years, they've spent, let's say an average of $6,500. Okay, so that's your customer lifetime value, 8 years, $6,500. Now you can figure out your churn rate for every new customer that comes into your business. For any of them that don't stay 8 years, they've churned out of your business sooner than they should have. And that can indicate a problem in your business. And so understanding, one metric gives you another metric, gives you insight into another metric. So that's why all of these are important. They're building blocks. They're stepping stones to understanding and insight. So missing out on a building block can really weaken your understanding and your insight. Making sure that you have all of these really is important. One of the other ones that we kind of looked like we skipped over was the demographics part, but we can get to that here in a sec.
Yeah, so here's Terry asking the question. She's got 35 years worth of records. How in the world do you go back through all those records and find out how much each customer has spent to help determine the lifetime value? So, Terry, I'm going to give you a hint. I wouldn't go back through it all 35 years and try to do it, pick out every little deal. I would do it by averages. If you could, if depending on how you have your information split out, you can go in and figure every single year what your average customer spent. You'll need to do that so that you can take from year 1 to year 35 and average out what the average spend is over that span of time. And then go back and say, okay, let me run some reports and see if you can. And I know if you're in QuickBooks, you can do this. You can run a report that's just a customer report and put in some filters and parameters to say, what is the average person that stays with you? And it may be 8 years, 10 years. Sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to get over a cold. And then use that from there. That's just one of those things that I think is really the easiest way to do that.
Terry brings up a great point here. Hold on, let's look at Terry's real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Jerry.
No, sorry, Terry. To follow up on that, she can break it down by zip code as well. Absolutely. There's been a lot of talk in the industry right now around CSIA and the new Listings to Leads program. If you've been hearing about that and the fact that it centers on zip codes, and there's some good reasons for having those zip codes handy. And I realize that when you don't have it, it seems like a pain to have to figure out how many zip codes in your area that you actually service. You should be able to get to that information and have it pretty close to hand anyway, because one of the things that you can do is, like Terry is talking about here, you can go see, like, what are, out of all of the invoices that you had last year or in the past 3 years or the past 5 years, pull up and look at the top 10% of those estimate values, right? The 10% biggest of the estimate values or invoice values that you have in your business. And then once you have that cream of the crop, those are the ones who spent the most money with you, that top 10% of customers in your business, then do a zip code report and find out if they have something in common. Like, are they all centralized in one particular or 2 or 3 particular zip codes? If so, what could you do with that information? Well, you could start targeting those zip codes with mailers. You could start targeting those zip codes, in all sorts of ways to, find other customers just like those big spenders who are willing to spend the kind of money that they others have already proven that they're willing to spend in that zip code. So it's great information to have when you know those zip codes. So other demographics that you can break down are not just based on zip code, but based on, if you know how many chimneys in the house, what's the square footage of the house, when was the house built, if it's 80s, then you're talking about prefabs and rip outs and replacements and things like that. So that can be good money. If a zip code is, or the houses in a neighborhood are much newer than that, then you're talking about other problems that you can solve for them. Which ones are the most lucrative? Which ones are the one you enjoy doing the most? All of those things, when you know that, helps you craft your business to aim more effectively and successfully to target the kinds of customers you want to fill your business with.
Hopefully, Terry, that helps with that question. And then Jerry's just saying, just cheat, just take somebody else's number.
Well, if you're going to steal somebody's number,
30 years ago,
was the guy I'd want to steal from.
Yeah, here's the thing. 30 years ago, it was probably 33,000. My bet is today it's more than that. I'm just saying, Jerry. I think it's more. But here's the thing, guys. Whether you take 33,000 or where you go and figure out your real numbers, the whole impetus of this is, if you know your lifetime value, then all of a sudden you can unleash some more marketing dollars when you need to. And right now, most of you don't need to. Y'all are busy. Y'all are booked up and going crazy. But when you need to, you can release some more money knowing that this is the lifetime value of that customer, to get that customer. Now, here's the real key to this too, is keeping your existing customer actually will cost you less and will help you grow your lifetime value of the customer. But a lot of us are so busy trying to go out and getting new business that we're not paying attention to keeping our current customer. So just that falls right in with lifetime value. And Jerry does say that he does agree. That's much more today. He said Bob did some great research, and I'm sure Bob Daniels did. Knowing what I know about Bob Daniels, I never met him, but I've sure heard a lot about him. So let's move on here and go on. Thank you guys for the comments. Thanks so much for all of you that have given us some love and whatnot, because it makes a difference. And now we're going to go into the benefits of marketing analysis. All right. So we've touched on a few of these just going through here, Carter. So I'm just gonna here's really to me the biggest benefit is this. It clarifies the big picture. Clarity is wins. And clarity in marketing is everything. I don't know if you guys know how many fuzzy edges and fuzzy things happen in marketing that you can't pinpoint. But if you don't, people who ask me, I don't know if Facebook works because I have no idea how many people come from Facebook to my website. That's fuzzy. You know, is Twitter better than Facebook? Were you using both? Well, yeah, but I don't get any business out of both of them, so I don't know. That's fuzzy. I really don't know if my website works or not. What do you mean you don't know if it works or not? Well, we get some stuff out of it, but I mean, they're calling my truck, or they calling this, or that's fuzzy. So it clarifies all those fuzzy things, and defines the edges, if you will, of your marketing. When you define that, then things can be improved. Okay. You improve your optimization of your advertising. You improve the messages that you're giving your customer. You're improving where you're targeting, because what Carter talked about is so true. If you know exactly where you want to target, there's so many ways that you can target these days. It's just a beautiful way of doing marketing. You can target by channel. You can decide which channel you can use to do what. That's really the benefits of using marketing analysis. And if you're not using the statistics around your marketing to market, then basically you're just doing it by a feel. You're
And that's
doing
no
it.
way to run a business. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to start there when you're first starting out. But, if you've been in business any length of time at all, then those metrics help you start really running it better. 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. If you'll go in and pull those invoices over the years and look at it, I can almost guarantee that about 80% of your revenue comes from 20%, the top 20% of your customers. So knowing that, how do you target more people like that 20%? If you could do that, you could grow your business in a way where you're not running around like a chicken with its head cut off, so busy that you can barely breathe, doing the work that you like to do more than the work you have to do. And you're making ends meet in style. I mean, you're building a business and creating wealth in your business by simply focusing on what the data tells you is something to focus on. So that's it. What gets measured gets managed, and if you can't measure it, you can never improve it.
And that's really true. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because I talk to a lot of people, some clients, some not clients. And I'm always amazed when I ask, where do you get your business? And they say the internet. And I'm like, well, the internet's really big. The internet can be your website, can be Instagram, can be Facebook, can be Twitter, it can be, I mean, you name it, it can be a Messenger. It's just all over the place. Google My Business. Where's your business coming from? And they're like, well, all we know is it's internet. So what you don't have the ability to say, hey, I'm getting more from X, so I want to put more money and more emphasis in X. You know, if you know what pedal to push, then you know you're going to go forward. If you're driving blind and know what pedal to push and you're trying to move forward in a car and hit the brake, you're not going anywhere. So it really is about knowing what you need to push, what you need to do from one moment to the next to really take you to the next level.
So let me just cover that real quick.
Sure.
Terry just said, if you only had to monitor one parameter of analytics, what would it be? And I think Taylor just answered it in his driving analogy, Terry. It's there's not one parameter that you can safely look at. When you're in a car, you can't just look at through the windscreen. Sometimes you have to look in the left side mirror. Sometimes you have to look in the rear view. Sometimes you have to look in the right side mirror, and sometimes you just got to grab the seat, swivel around, and look, to see what's going on. So you're constantly looking at different things in order to keep that car on the road and to operate it safely without damaging you or others. So there's not just one metric. There's really not just one parameter that you can focus on safely. That's a myopic kind of way of doing it. And if you're just focused on one number, then that's the only number you're trying to manage, and you're going to lose a lot of opportunities and may even careen off into a ditch because that one number is just not capable of telling you everything you need to know.
So let me give you a real world analysis of that, Terry. Let's just say that what I'm really looking for as a business owner is leads. That what I need is leads. Okay. And so I'm going to put $1,000 into, I'm just going to pick Facebook. We're on Facebook, so I'll use them. So I'm going to put $1,000 a month to get leads on Facebook. What you don't realize is for everybody that clicks from Facebook that comes over and visits your website, not only is that beneficial to get somebody on your site, but Google sees that as traffic. The more traffic you have on the website, that actually bolsters your SEO. As your SEO gets bolstered, it actually fans out and is a part of your Google Business Profile, which is the old GMB. They changed it to GP, whatever it is. Good. I haven't all that yet. Anyway, so yeah, you could say, well, I didn't get any leads this month from Facebook, but how much business did you get from driving traffic over there? Whether that traffic was something that was directly attributed to Facebook or whether that helped your SEO, which actually bolstered your Google Business Profile, and you got 17 other people from Google Business Profile you never got before. Well, if you're not tracking that all the way through, you don't know why. You don't know where it comes from. So it's great that you're asking every person. Let me put this up because I think this is important to know. I think if you don't have a metric in place, this is the next best thing is to ask every person who books how they found it. The issue with this is this. They don't really know how they found you. If they say Google, that's great, but it could have been Yelp. It could have been Facebook. It could have been Google. It could have been Google My Business, which is different than organic search, which is different from a map search. What you're doing on mobile is different than what you did on desktop. So all these things are different. So you're getting good information, but you're not getting specific information, which is the thing about the pedals. When you have specific information, that helps you a lot more than just general information. But general information is way better than no information. Hopefully that explains that. And we all do the best we can, by the way. So I'm not trying to tell everybody, you got to do it our way or you need a this or a that. The honest truth is we're all doing the best we can with the information that we have at hand. So the more information we have, the better. So If it's so doggone important, why doesn't everybody take advantage of marketing analytics? And the answer is because a lot of people don't understand it. They just don't understand it. We spend a lot of times translating what people think is important to what we think they ought to be looking at and why, which is fine. We think that it's really one of those things that you need to do to centralize things. The reason that I do like Google Analytics is there are ways that you can hook up almost everything to it. And once you have it all hooked up, if there's a go-to analytics program that will capture the vast majority, it is Google Analytics, and it's free. So yes, people, I'm not trying to push any more Google products, I promise. But that one happens to be a good one. It centralizes things, which I think is good. Um, it brings things in from unique sources to give you perspective, and I think that's also good. Did I miss anything, Carter?
The real challenge and the reason that people don't do it oftentimes is because, and especially in a service business, it's not easy to connect that last mile with revenue. So you get all this great information about how much money you spent on your marketing, how many visitors and eyeballs you got on your website, how many searches that you showed up in, how many this, how many that, all this stuff, how many clicks you got, how many people called the business to schedule an appointment. But at that moment that they make a phone call, they're no longer online, and those metrics that we've been talking about online cease to exist. And if you don't have a good practice for tracking how people found you and learning as much as you can about the ways that they came to the point of deciding to call you, then and tracking even beyond the call to, did they book an appointment? Did they keep the appointment? How much was that appointment worth? How much money was collected in invoices? Were there estimates for other projects, and did they do those projects? And following up next year, did they come back for another sweep and inspection or warranty work for the stove that they purchased from you last year? So tracking all of those things helps you understand what your real return on investment is, because it finally gives you a picture of revenue. In an online business, it's real easy. If you're an e-commerce store, you can get to revenue really quickly because it all happens right on the computer. And from the first search that they do for a product all the way through to the moment that they are charged on their credit card, you can tell exactly what their journey was to your business and through your business. You can't do that with a service business, and it's harder. So that's one of the reasons I think people don't always take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not as easy as if you have an e-commerce business.
It requires more
Yeah.
hands-on work. You've got to train your staff to ask the right questions. You've got to get your CPA or your bookkeeper to pull reports to give you some of the data that you need to connect those remaining dots back to the initial way that somebody came into your business through the marketing dollars that you spent to get them to your website or whatever. So it takes a little more work.
All right, I just have a side note. Since the Apple update and this focus thing has come out, when I turn it off, it's on, and when it's on, it's off. It's the craziest thing ever. I'm having so many problems with my phone. I'm not getting my message notifications. I turned it on for this presentation, and I got a call through. It's crazy. So on a side note, that's fun. It's live. It's fun. So how do you use marketing analytics? So the very first thing that I would tell you on using of marketing analytics, this is the way I like to approach this. You have to identify the KPIs that are important to you. You have to identify in your business what are the most important KPIs that I need to track. Once those are identified, then you can back into all the things that you need to do to be able to reach those KPIs and see what those are. On a weekly basis, monthly basis, daily basis, however you want to look at it. So I think that's really, really.
I'll give you just real quick insight.
Sure.
When you're talking about those KPIs and trying to decide which ones are the most important, focus on the ones that are tied closest to cash. So to actual revenue. So secondly, look at the ones that are tied to something that you can even do something about. How much money you're spending is not always the right metric to look at, because you can two businesses can spend the exact same amount of money but spend it in different ways and have radically different ROIs for that spend. So it's not always important to look at that number. It's to look at other things along the way. But what's tied to cash? Like, where are the points in the KPIs that you can look and see from point A to point B, things are going well, but from point B to point C, something is happening and we're seeing a lot of drop off. And I would like to see if we could improve that, because if we can improve that, we could expect to see cash. We can expect to see better revenue as a direct result of that improvement. So look for the KPIs that help guide that story, to answer the goal for any business, which is how do we maximize turn the least amount of effort into the maximum amount of revenue.
That's a really good point. The other thing is you have to have a base understanding of marketing and what your company is doing and what you expect from it. I find a lot of people have unrealistic expectations, and the first thing they do, because they don't even have a marketing budget, they expect to get X amount of things delivered for zero. And it just doesn't work that way. I mean, in the good old days when Google and the internet just started, you could put up a website and do some things, and you can make a lot of money without a whole lot of effort. You cannot do that these days. It takes effort, it takes determination, it takes consistency. There are things that it takes that you have to make sure that you are willing to do, to get you to wherever you want to go. Now, and it's totally different. If you love the business just the way it is and you are happy with where you are, then just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, there's no use in changing a lot of things. If it's working for you, great. If at any time it stops working for you, then at that point, hopefully you'll see that it's stopping a little bit quicker than it just, stops. You can start making some adjustments and reaching out and getting some help and figuring out what it is that you need to do. But you have to have goals. You have to have designated marketing goals to know what you want to do and where you want to go and what you want to reach. I think that's really, really important. Understanding the platforms that you are advertising on. A lot of people, they want to do Facebook ads, but they have no idea what to expect from Facebook or from social. You're not going to get near as many leads from social as you are from Google. And the reason is people are looking for what you do on Google. Most of the time on Facebook, you're just throwing something in front of people that's scrolling and they go, oh, I might need that. Let me go check that out. So it's two totally different modalities. And so many times I find that people have an expectation to get from Facebook what they can get from Google. So you got to be careful about that. And it's not that one is better than the other one. They're different, and you have to look at them differently. You have to view them differently, and thus you have to treat them differently. So that's a big deal there. The other thing, they all have different KPIs. Your KPI for what you do maybe in social may be totally different from a KPI that you want to get in email marketing or from Google My Business. So don't get locked into, one KPI for every single platform that you're in. Understand that they are different. And so you may have to look at them and tweak your mindset a little bit around whatever it is you're doing. And that also goes back to your goals. If I have a goal of X, but what I'm doing is actually giving me Y, but that's not my goal, then either I'm on the wrong platform, or I might be doing the wrong thing on the right platform. So those are things that you have to just be concerned with. And most all these platforms have analytics of their own, but tying them into Google and to be able to cross-reference gives you some really good just analysis, personal analysis that you can do between and comparative and those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me that I'll just say this, that you don't have to be disciplined in knowing your numbers in order to be successful in business. I mean, you don't. You can make a fortune in business despite yourself, right? You can make a fortune while you're blowing through another fortune. The goal of business, though, can be, if you want it to be, to apply some discipline to save that fortune that you're blowing through, because you don't know what's working, you don't know what's sticking, you don't know, how those metrics that can help you make it better. Oftentimes, those metrics are going to help you not only make more money but save more money too, and apply the money that you're spending on marketing more effectively, and that's going to grow the fortune that you're keeping. So you don't have to be terribly disciplined to be successful in business, but it helps, and it certainly makes you that much more successful, and that's the game of it. The longer I've been in business, the more I realize that the game of it is maximizing, minimizing the amount of input and maximizing the amount of output. It's how do we make a system that, and there's more complicated ways of describing it, but how do we make a system that requires the least amount of care and feeding and produces the most yield? And figuring out how to do that in your particular business is the lifelong work, if you will, of growing a successful business. And by success, I mean one that you can be proud of and that gives you everything that you want.
And with that, we're about 15 minutes more longer than we normally go, but we knew this was going to be, it's a little dense, a little bit more dense than some of what we talk about, but we thought was really important. And just remember, if you want a refresher of this or any of our Spark Lives, it can now be found as a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or your favorite podcast player. Man, that was my announcing. So what are we going to do next week? Oh my gosh, we're going to get into the Google quality guidelines. I've gotten some questions lately that people want me to do things, and it's like, yeah, we can't do that. And they're like, well, I don't understand why we can't do that. So we're going to talk about what you should and should not do, and why and who sets up these Google quality guidelines. So we thank you guys so much. We always appreciate those of you that get on, and man, I really appreciate, Terry, you bringing that and being so open and transparent with us. That really is great. The tool I mentioned at the beginning is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is to me the best analytical program out there. So that's a great deal. It's free, but I think everybody should be able to put that on their website and use it. It's a pretty dense tool, can be, but just to get the base information, that's that. But thank you again, guys. I can't tell you how much Carter and I appreciate y'all that come on. We really, really thank you, and we hope this information just helps you to be bigger and better and get you everything you want in life and your business. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Whenever we're going to do that, next week.